Hey everybody, this video is for anybody out there who is currently dealing with excessive blushing, but feels way too afraid to confront it, way too afraid to start putting themselves out there, overcoming their fear and embarrassment around this blushing, because that's the only way you're going to overcome this issue. You will never stop blushing. You can only reduce it by learning to not care about it and stop being so embarrassed when it happens. And the pain that you're feeling is the pain of the panic that you go through. And so the only way you overcome this is by learning to not panic when you go into social situations. And the only way to do that is by putting yourself in them willingly to start getting more comfortable with blushing in front of people. And that is scary. And I know it's scary for a lot of you. And there's many of you who will watch my content, totally understand where I'm coming from, but you're still too scared to actually make change in your life. You're still too scared to go out there and start putting yourself in front of other people and blushing on purpose, essentially. And I get it. So I wanted to make a video explaining how you can overcome that fear and you can start making confronting the blushing feel easier than avoiding it. That's the ultimate goal that we're going to get to. And what I'll be teaching in this video essentially applies to anything that you don't want to do. How to work out, how to eat better, anything, how to work harder, do the things that you know you need to do that you're not. And I think you'll get a lot out of this. I hope that you do learn something. And if you do, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you're listening to this, just leave a review or something like that. I would very much appreciate it. So who am I? Just real quick, my name is Colin Clem. I overcame my excessive blushing over 6 years ago now, and I have not dealt with it since. And now I've gone full time into teaching other people how to overcome this blushing as well. I run a coaching program that is called Breakthrough Blushing, and that is the channel that this is uploaded on as well. You can go to my website, breakthroughblushing.com, if you want to learn some more. But essentially, I make all these videos to teach you how to overcome your blushing in your own life, with the ultimate goal that you will take some of this stuff, apply it to your life, start building some confidence and courage. And I hope that you end up wanting to become a coaching client of mine, where I can help you get through this process much faster, much easier, much more enjoyable, and it's just much more guaranteed than trying to do this on your own, because it's not easy, takes time, and it's much easier to have somebody guide you along the way. So there's always a link in the comments of these videos and of these podcasts to book a call with me. So I hope that as you listen to this, as you apply it to your life, you eventually want to just learn more about my coaching program, and I can tell you all about it. So let's get into the video. So essentially, this video is about how to take action. You need to understand what causes you to take action. Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you continue putting off the things that you know you need to do? And why do you continue doing the things that you know you shouldn't do? It's a big question. And I think understanding it will help you start to manipulate your environment, start to manipulate your mindset to be able to do things that currently you just feel like you can't get yourself to do. So to start, you need to understand that as humans, all of our behavior, everything that we do, is essentially dictated by pain. Okay? Everything that we do, we always choose to take the actions that we believe will bring us the least amount of overall pain. And I'll actually include that word, overall. Okay, because that'll come in handy later. So what you need to know is that we will do the things that feel or seem the least painful. When we are confronted with a couple of options, we will always choose the one that seems less painful. So when it comes to your choice, you have the choice between, when you go into a social setting or you're thinking about going into a social setting, you have two choices. One is you can avoid the social setting, or two, you can confront that social setting. So you can choose to avoid participating in the meeting. You could choose to actually go in and just go for it and raise your hand and participate. That's your choice. And what you're doing in your head is you're evaluating which one seems least painful. Even though you know you want to do the confronting one, even though you know that's what you need to do, you will just do whatever it is that you believe is the least painful. And so Tony Robbins has a great quote. He says that change happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change. So you will change when change seems less painful than continuing down your current path. So right now, you continue to avoid blushing, you continue to avoid social situations because you believe in your mind that confronting it still seems like the more painful path. Okay, so let's visualize this. So you think this is the pain of avoiding it, right? Actually, it's probably higher than that. Let's be real. I'll raise this up a little bit. So let's do up to here. Like, you know, avoiding it is painful in your mind, but you will continue avoiding it because in your mind you still believe confronting it is more painful. You still believe in your mind that this is the worst option and that avoiding it is still the overall better option. That's why you continue to do this. And all you need to do to get yourself to confront blushing situations is you just have to make confronting it seem less painful overall than avoiding it. And we're going to talk about how to do that right now. So once confronting it seems like the less painful option, you will do this by default. You won't even have to think about it. Like, you'll just do it because in your mind, you're like, yep, that's the better option. Let me do that. And then you'll do it. And you'll still be scared, but you're still going to find this better than this option. And that's the point that I got to. It took me 10 years to get to that point. And I'm going to teach you how to bring that closer, how to start taking that action earlier. And we're going to go through exactly what you need to do. So if you aren't already at that point, if you're watching this video, I assume this is what's going on in your mind. And we want to get you to be able to confront this blushing. To do that, you have two options. You can increase the pain of staying the same. You can increase the pain of avoiding social situations. Or you can decrease the pain of confronting it. And the goal is to flip-flop these, is to get the pain of your perceived pain of confronting it lower than the perceived pain of continuing to avoid it. And I will give you a few strategies right now to do both of those things. So let's actually quickly go over what it looks like. So essentially, you want to drive this up higher than this one. Okay, you want to make avoiding it seem more painful than confronting it. Once you get to that point, you will start confronting it by default. Your human instinct will be to start confronting it because you're like, wow, this is the less painful choice. All right, so I hope that's clear. And let's talk about how you can increase the pain of avoiding it and decrease the pain of confronting these blushing situations so that you can actually start getting out there, putting yourself into these situations willingly. So first, let's talk about increasing the pain of avoiding these social situations. And all of this comes down to your mental frames. You have to be able to step out of your current position and put on a new perspective. You have to be able to put on a new lens of how you're going to see your life. This is huge. Being able to see things from a different perspective is huge. And that's why watching these videos is so important, because I will give you a new way to look at your situations that you have yet to consider. And that is invaluable. And that's why coaching is honestly invaluable as well, because I can work with you one-on-one to figure out exactly what you're telling yourself that is just incorrect, that is stopping you from getting over this. But enough about promoting coaching. But essentially, I want you to overcome this either way. Even if you choose to do this on your own, I want this to be extremely valuable to you. So I'm going to tell you everything that I possibly can think of on this topic. So first, how do you overcome, or how do you start to increase the pain of avoiding this? Well, the first thing that I like to do is forecast the overall pain. Forecast the future pain that you're going to experience if you continue to avoid these social situations and drag that pain into the present. Try to feel that future pain now. You almost need to gaslight yourself, if you want to use a slang term. You really do need to make yourself feel bad for not doing anything. The worse you make yourself feel about doing that, the more attractive doing something becomes. So what I like to do is I like to think about all of the pain that's ahead. Think about the dreams that you're not going to achieve. Think about the moments that you're going to miss out on if you don't do anything. Like for me, I was at the point where my blushing was going to prevent me from becoming valedictorian of my high school graduating class. I was on pace to be number one. I had the highest GPA. I had a perfect GPA, and I took all the hardest classes. But the valedictorian had to give a speech at graduation, and that was the scariest thing I could possibly think of. And I knew that was on my current path. And so I almost willingly gave up my perfect GPA so that I didn't have to give the speech at graduation. And so I had this in my future. I knew that I was going to regret that. In my future, I was like, that is the stupidest decision I could ever make. I thought about how I would feel, and I dragged that into the present moment. I was like, wow, I'm not going to get the respect from people that I want. I'm not going to get the scholarships. I am not going to get into the universities that I want to get into. I'm not going to get the job that I want to get. I'm going to feel like a failure for the rest of my life. I was forecasting all of this, and I brought it into the present moment. And I was like, wow, that is my path if I continue letting this fear of blushing stop me from living my life. That's what lies ahead. I forgot to write this down. Forecasting. Okay, so forecasts. That is the first thing I would recommend doing. And you can think about all this stuff. I mean, for you, it might be you're going to be stuck in your current job if you hate your job. You're going to be stuck in your current relationship if you hate your relationship. Or maybe you're single. Maybe you don't have a relationship and you want one. Think about the fact that you're going to live the rest of your life alone, even though you really want a relationship, just because you won't get over this fear of blushing. That's your reality. Until you get over this, that is your reality. And you need to continue making yourself feel bad, to be honest, for all the things that you're going to miss out on. Think of the weddings. Think of the parties you're going to miss out on. Think of the traveling you're going to miss out on if you don't get over this. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. And this thought process should drag all of that future pain into the present moment. And it'll make confronting it seem a little bit more attractive. Okay. So that's the first thing I would do is forecast all of that future pain that you're going to experience and bring it into the present moment. Really internalize it right now. Like write down everything you're going to miss out on. Everything that's going to be painful if you don't get over this. And you'll realize, dang, like I am going to miss out on a lot. I'm going to miss life just because of this fear of what other people think of me and my blushing. So that's the first one, is forecasting that pain. The second thing you can do to increase the pain of your current path, to increase the pain of avoiding this, is thinking about your idols. Okay. Idols. So everybody has somebody that they admire, somebody that they respect, that they look up to. Everyone does. Everyone. It could be an internet figure. It could be somebody in your everyday life. It could be a parent, a grandparent, whoever. Okay. And honestly, I think for some people, including myself, it becomes your future you. Like, who would my future me want me to be? And you have to ask yourself, who is the person that person would want you to be? Who does your idol want you to be? Who would they respect? And would they be proud of you or ashamed of you for continuing to cower away from social situations, for continuing to let this blushing rule you, for continuing to let this blushing stop you from achieving what you want to achieve? Would your idol be proud of that or disappointed by that? Think about who you're letting down. You're letting down your idol, but most importantly, you're letting down your future self. There's this future self where of you, there's this future version of you where you can accomplish things, where you can be successful, whatever your definition of that is. And that's not going to happen until you get over this. So there's this person waiting for you, and they will be extremely disappointed if you never get to them. Okay. So think about who you're letting down, and I hope that guilts you into feeling bad about continuing to live life like this. All of this will compound. You continuously remind yourself of this. You write these people down that you're letting down. Write the things you're going to miss out on. Continuously make yourself drive up this pain of what your reality will look like. Paint as clearer of a picture of what your life will look like if you don't do anything. It becomes pretty somber. It becomes pretty miserable. And eventually it becomes difficult enough to imagine that you're like, okay, I have to do something. And that's when you do something. Okay. So that's how you increase the pain of staying the same. Next, let's talk about how you can decrease the pain of change. Because if you somehow can't seem to picture the future, which I hope you are able to at some point be able to see how bad this will get. If you can't picture how bad this will be, you can also decrease the pain of how scary confronting it seems. So the first thing you can do is simply through what I call the nervousness equation, but for now, all I will say is preparation. Okay. So I'll just say prepare. So I created an equation called the nervousness equation. And really all it is an equation that explains where fear comes from, where nervousness comes from. And I use it to help myself decrease my nervousness. And all you really need, I'll make future videos breaking down the entire equation, because you can use it to make yourself feel less nervous and get yourself to actually follow through. The only reason you're not confronting this is all because of fear. Fear is the pain that you're experiencing. Okay. When you're thinking about confronting it, it's all perceived in your mind. And when you're thinking about the pain of confronting it, there's no physical pain of confronting this. It's all just mental pain. It's all just fear. And you're anxious, right? About that. So you can use different variables. You can do different things to decrease the amount of fear that you feel. And one of my favorites is simply through preparation. And the way that looks, there's lots of ways you can prepare. You can choose an easy time and place to start confronting this. That's the best one to start. I always tell people, just say hi to a stranger at the store. You won't see them ever again. You'll never see them again. And it's a 3-second interaction. You'll just say, hey, as you're walking by, as you're going past one of the aisles, or you compliment you. They have nice shoes or something that you like. Oh, I love those shoes. And you just keep walking. They're like, oh, thank you. That's the interaction. That's it. But you just did something that's out of your comfort zone. And guess what? Now you have some proof that you can use to start building some confidence. And you start snowballing that. You tell another person. You tell another person. Then you ask the cashier how they're doing. Then you start a little conversation. And now you just went a few seconds. Still with strangers. And then you keep building up that confidence. And now you walk into work and you ask your boss how they're doing. And you strike up a conversation with him or her for 30 seconds, a minute. And you blush. But you're in control. And you kind of build this confidence, right? So there's other ways to prepare. It's like if you have to give a presentation, let's say you're afraid to give a presentation, prepare the best freaking presentation you possibly can. The only reason you're so afraid is because you're not prepared. If you were fully prepared, if you did every single thing you could possibly do to prepare, you picked an easy time and place, you practiced what you were going to say, you know exactly what you're going to do in case XYZ happens, you've prepared for every scenario, you wouldn't be afraid at all. maybe a little, because there's still something you feel like you're missing, but you would not be too afraid to confront it. And so the only reason you're afraid is because you're not prepared. You feel like you're not prepared, or you're like, you're not prepared for the reaction of you or whatever. Um, just prepare for everything. Set expectation. Expect to blush. Expect for somebody to make a funny face. Expect for somebody to point it out. Prepare for that. Go in with the mindset that that will happen. And when you start to think about that, you start setting realistic expectations. You start coming to terms with it, and you can honestly future cast that as well. You're like, okay, if somebody says something, then what? And you start to realize it's really not that bad. Like, you know what you're going to say, you can plan it out and you can practice it, and then you're ready for it, and it doesn't take you by surprise anymore. So the first thing, I would do to decrease the pain of confronting it is simply preparing. Get better at speaking. Become more confident. Start small, work your way up, and all of a sudden confronting these situations doesn't seem as bad because you've been practicing in a different environment, or you've been practicing at home. So do that. So that's the first thing, is just prepare. Give yourself proof that you will be okay. The reason that you're so scared is that you have zero proof that you will do well. You have zero proof that you will survive because you've never gone and faced these situations on your own. You just need that first set of proof to start snowballing and increasing that proof over time and repeatedly until you get to the point that your brain knows it's not going to die, and that is when you stop feeling afraid at all. But you have to start somewhere. Okay. So you start by preparing. The second thing you can do to decrease the pain of change is to basically inverse everything from up here. So inverse. You can inverse the forecasted pain, and you can inverse the reaction of your idols. So what I mean by that is you can decrease the pain of confronting your blushing by thinking about who is going to be so proud of you, and what you'll be able to experience by overcoming this. So I'll go back to my example of learning, or of overcoming this, because I knew that I would become valedictorian. That, like, there was so much advantage to overcoming this blushing. I had such a big goal that meant so much to me, that achieving it was way more important than the negative side effects of confronting this. That's what made this the easy choice. Well, it wasn't easy, but it was like the obvious choice. I didn't continue putting it off because I was like, I have to get over this in order to achieve this goal. And I had to decide which thing meant more to me. Did I care more about the negatives of confronting this, or did I care more about the positives of getting over this? And that's the choice you have to make. So you can think about, who is it that you'll impress? Who will be so proud of you? And I hope that you're trying to impress your future you, because then it's not like, because you're in control. Your future you has your best interests at heart. But also think of your idols. What would they do? And then if you did those things on a daily basis that they do, they would be so proud of you. And you know that. And that gives you a good feeling. Because when somebody puts you down, you're like, I don't care. You're not the person I'm trying to get approval from. I'm trying to impress my idols right now. They would be proud of me. That's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling. And that makes confronting it seem a little less scary, because you know you're making someone proud. Someone would be proud of you. Even if they don't know you in real life, it doesn't matter. All that matters is this is a mental battle. So you need to manipulate your mind in whatever way you need to get yourself to take the action. And the other thing you could do is you could forecast, instead of forecasting the pain, think about forecasting all of the relief. Think about forecasting all the pleasure that you'll experience if you get over this. Think about being able to go out to restaurants and not worry about some interaction with the waiter. Like, you can confidently joke with them. You can give presentations. You can build a following. You can go traveling and meet new people, go up to them, spark conversation. You can build your network. You can get better jobs. You can go into interviews with confidence. There's so much to gain from overcoming this. What is it that you're losing again from overcoming this? Becky is going to make a weird comment. John is going to make a weird comment. That is what's stopping you? Come on. Come on. You have to ask yourself, is that person really going to stop you from all of that? That one person? Those few people? If you really think about it, there's just a few people in your life that you're afraid of right now. And if it's just strangers in general, I don't know. I'll make a future video on that. But really, for the most part, a lot of you, it's like there's a few people that you're trying to get approval from. If you really think about it, if you really dig down deep, there's a few people that make comments frequently. And you have to ask yourself, is their judgment more important than my future, than my sanity, than my confidence? And I hope that by manipulating your mind using these things, you can start to make yourself the priority. And you can care less about their opinion than you do about your own. And you can start taking action because it seems less painful. Let's move on to the last one. The last one is the hero frame. I absolutely love this one. So you can decrease the pain of confronting situations by simply seeing yourself as a hero on a mission. Think about a movie. Think about a movie character. Think of yourself in a movie. Imagine there was a camera crew following you around right now. I think I got this specific part from Joe Rogan. He said something along the lines on one of his podcasts about, imagine a camera crew started filming you right now. What would you do? What would you do? Would you just sit there on your phone, continuing to be awkward, avoiding social situations? Or would you start confronting this? The hero in a movie isn't happy. That's not what makes an interesting movie. What makes an interesting movie is that they have this huge challenge and they must face it, or else they die, or else they let someone down, or unless they if they don't confront it, they let themselves down. There's something at stake, but they always rise to the occasion. And so imagine yourself as the main character. Imagine yourself as the hero in your own story. What are you going to do? And that all of a sudden you see now, if you live your life like that, I promise you, you see challenge as opportunity. You see it as an opportunity to write a freaking good story. Anything that happens to me now that's terrible, I almost want it to get worse. It sounds ridiculous, but I know that the worse the conditions get, the better my story will be, and the better the story is that I'll get to tell someday. It sounds ridiculous to hear that, but it's like I've tricked myself into thinking this. Now, there's times I fall back into the old mindset where I'm like, oh, I wish everything was easy. Why is my life so hard? All of this victim stuff. But then I try my best to snap out of that victim frame and into the hero frame. And I'm like, make it harder. Come on. Let's make this more interesting. The best movies are when you think the hero has no choice. Like, you think they're screwed. There's no way they're getting out of this. And then all of a sudden they get out of it, right? That is the best story. Because it's interesting, because there's challenge. And so when you're looking at your blushing situations that lie ahead of you, look at it as an opportunity to be a freaking hero in your own story. No one's going to save you. You shouldn't want anybody to save you. This is your opportunity to do something impressive, which is to start facing your fear, to do something that most people aren't willing to do. So I hope this explains why you're too afraid to confront your blushing, and I hope this gives you some inspiration or some thoughts that you can use to start overcoming your blushing, to start facing that fear. It all comes down to you choosing the path that's less painful. This applies to everything in life. This applies to blushing. This applies to working out. You will not work out if you see working out as more painful than not working out. But the difference is that, I'll give you my example in my everyday life. I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. now to go work out. I have been doing it for a year and a half, and I have not really missed. I've missed like maybe a handful of times. And the reason why is not because I feel great when I wake up. I feel terrible. I feel so tired and I would much rather go to bed. But that doesn't mean, and in the moment, choosing to go back to sleep feels like the way better option. But what I do in my mind is I do these things. Who am I letting down if I go back to sleep? What is the future pain I will experience? Well, for the rest of the day, I'm going to feel lazy. I'm going to regret not having gone. I'm going to start slipping into my old habits. I'm not going to make the progress that I want to make. All of that. I go through that in my head and I'm like, ah, and then I get up. That's what you have to do. It's not easy, but you have to choose the route that seems less painful. And you do that by making your current path, by making the easy path seem much more painful. And you make the current path seem less painful. I always think about, oh, I'm going to feel so good if I go to the gym. I am every time. I'm going to have more energy compared to just sleeping in. I think sleeping in would give me, like in the moment, I think sleeping in would give me, more energy. But that's not true at all. In my past experience, sleeping in just makes me feel lazy all day. Whereas going to the gym, I feel great after. So it's the same thing with your blushing situations. You have to just start doing it and you have to start realizing it's the way better option. You get to choose the time and place instead of it choosing you. You get to feel proud of yourself instead of embarrassed. You start overcoming this. It's just the way better option. And I hope that this video gave you the lessons that you needed to hear. Forecast your future pain. Think about who you're going to be letting down if you don't do this. If you do this, just prepare to decrease your fear and it will seem less scary. Inverse the top two. So forecast all the benefit you'll get by doing this, or forecast how proud you're going to make your idols if you do this, if you confront this blushing. And lastly, think about what the hero on a mission would do. If you're a hero in your own story, what would they do? They would confront it. It's pretty clear. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to be a victim or are you going to be a hero? It's your choice. Nobody can make it for you, but using these mental models, you can start to manipulate your mind and start confronting it seem like the better option. And once you fully believe in your heart that it is the better choice, that is when you will start to do it. And there's going to be a massive amount of discomfort you're going to feel. Your heart's going to race. You're going to be so scared to do it, but you're going to do it anyway. And you're just going to go for it. Stop thinking, start doing once you get to that point. And then build up some momentum, continuously do it, and eventually your problem will be gone. You will feel super comfortable. You're going to be so proud of yourself. You're going to be so confident, and you won't think twice about your blushing in a matter of months or maybe a year or two down the line. It takes different amount of times for everybody. So that's it for this video. If you are interested in getting coaching from me, you can book a call with me down below. You can also visit breakthroughblushing.com, and I'm sure there's going to be some information for you there. And I will be able to help you overcome this much faster, much easier, much more enjoyable than trying to do this on your own. When you do it on your own, you run into the dangers of going into old thought patterns, being too afraid to start, taking forever, not having a good time. And I help you avoid all of that by guiding you along the process myself. So if that interests you, book a call. If not, best of luck on your journey. And I will see you in future videos. Bye-bye.